Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. Tower Talk Business Radio brings you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation, including expert consultants and small business owners who have found success, but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their first-hand experience. And now, let's get down to business with Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation.
Hello, and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of NEFQ Business Banking, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing digital agency, and we are focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship.
Ray and I bring you weekly business tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry.
All right, so
I'm excited.
Yeah, we have somebody here that's kind of in your world, I think.
You know, marketing is our job just to be the cheerleaders. We bring people to the table, and everybody else needs to close the deal. So
there you go. Well, I like that.
Yes, we're the cheerleaders. We're like, hey, we're here. Big advertising, media services, you name it. And again, now you close the deal.
Yes.
So I'm excited because, marketing is close to my heart, marketing promotions. And Steve here with us is just a marketing guru and legend and
legend on Long Island.
And that's really
cool. We're proclaiming it now on this show today. He's a legend in marketing on Long Island. So providing us with business empowerment today is our guest, Stephen Wilson. He is the CEO of Strategic Marketing Works. Stephen's company is a content marketing agency that helps businesses convert website traffic into leads. He's worked with other organizations such as AT&T, Fisher-Price Toys, Frito-Lay, IBM, and as well as small and medium-sized businesses. He has 20-plus years of marketing experience and relies on strategy-first approach that help his clients shorten their sales cycle, increase their sales. That sounds good to me, DB, doesn't it to you?
It sure does.
All right. He grew up in Long Beach and is an Ithaca College graduate. When he's not helping companies increase sales, he is a high school football umpire in Suffolk County. Oh, you got to deal with those tough parents.
Yes, that is definitely true.
Welcome to the show today, Stephen.
Thanks for having me, Ray. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, we're totally psyched to have you. Tell
us how you got started in marketing.
Yeah.
How I got started in marketing, it was sort of like one of the graduate moment with Dustin Hoffman, but they didn't tell me plastics. And I was at a party, and my father's friend came up to me and said, "What are you going to do now?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, my friend has this company. It started about a year ago. Why don't you call him up and tell him I sent you?" So I said, "Okay." So I did that. It was the first interview I ever went on, and I was a brash kid and what have you. So I went and had a really nice meeting, and the meeting turned out to be with a man who became my mentor, Jerry Leeds, and the company was CMP Publishing, which then at the time was like 30, 40 people, and 15, 20 years later, Mr. Leeds sold the company for like $2 billion.
Nice.
But it was great. I got in as the assistant marketing manager, and I was going on press, printing and writing. That's where I really realized I knew how to write and enjoyed writing. So that was really the basis for my marketing.
Oh, cool. So now, you always hear the word that content is king.
Yes.
So how did you start, Strategic Marketing Works and started delving into content?
I started Strategic Marketing Works 12 years ago. And 6 years ago, I started reading a lot of the trade journals and websites about how content was evolving into this marketing opportunity. And I had always done content marketing in that I was always sending information to my prospects and clients on how to help them. And when I was reading all this initial information about content marketing, I said, "Wait a minute! I've been doing that my whole."
It's not new.
This is meant whatever. So I repositioned my agency, and I literally went on the websites of all the other marketing agencies on Long Island. And at the time, none of them said anything about content marketing. So I rebranded with help from Linda Clark, who's one of the artists that I work with, and that was 8 years ago now, and now I've become regarded as a content marketing agency.
Nice.
It's good.
Now, for the layperson, what exactly does content marketing mean?
Content marketing means that with the whole advent now of digital marketing and social media, the consumer, and whenever I say this in a presentation, I always think of Cy Sims. Remember his line was, an educated consumer is our best. Well, now consumers are so much more educated before they make a buying decision. Right. And the reason on that is that the first thing they do, whether it's a B2B or a B2C purchase, they're going on Google and just typing in what they're searching for. And what's happening now is that so people are searching for content to find out information to help them make a buying decision. So what I tell people and what I share with people is that we're going to create content that your prospects are going to be seeing and learning about way before they make their initial contact with your salesperson.
So you're focused on more content, more branding or engagement or
engagement. Yeah, engagement is probably the one word that I overuse most times, because in today's marketing, as you know, it's all about engaging, consumers and prospects and then converting them. And that's one of the reasons why I have this my little thing that people give me some stuff about, but I always like to focus on the company's bounce rate on their website and on their landing pages. And I like to say that the bounce rate is the canary in the coal mine. It sort of gives you an idea of how high or low your bounce rate is. If you have a high bounce rate, which is normally 50%, that means your website is not working well to convert traffic into leads. So we try to focus on that first and then go from there.
That means, Ray, it's not visually appealing. When people just leave, they bounce out. They go on, they log on, and then they're like, bounce, I'm out of here.
So this is why Nephew's not putting my face on it. Now it all makes sense. All right. Well, what's your differentiator? I mean, obviously, I think you have a very, specific approach, but tell us a little bit more about that.
What I try to do is, and I learned it back in the days when I was on Madison Avenue. I was the account exec at the ad agency for Fisher-Price Toys. And Fisher-Price Toys had a very strong research foundation to create a strategy. We did a lot of focus groups, a lot of market research. And I just learned at that time that the more research you can do to find out about your prospects' buying habits, it's going to help your tactics. In fact, through the last couple of years, when I've made presentations to companies, and I didn't get their business at the time, I would say several times a year, companies that passed on me the first time come back to me 6 months later, and they say, Steve, we was between you and the other guy, we went with the other guy, but all they wanted to do was put posts up on all different social media, and they never really focused on the strategy and who our target audience was. They were just focused on the tactics. And we remember what you said about strategy first, and I think we need to do that.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, and our guest today is Stephen Wilson, CEO of Strategic Marketing Works. Now, how do you market your business? 'Cause I've always wondered that. How does a marketer market their own business?
Great question. And when I rebranded my agency to become a content marketing agency, I literally went to the Babylon Library and took out a book, How a Marketing Agency Should Market Themselves. And they had a very clear, they said a direct marketing agency should send direct mail out. A public relations agency should send out public, press releases. Right. So since we were going to be a content marketing agency, I created content. And I share that content with on my LinkedIn post, my company LinkedIn page, my personal LinkedIn page, through a series of constant contact emails to my database, and never really selling my services as much as educating people about different components of marketing and content marketing, specifically the bounce rate and how people can really focus on that.
They say the one thing that marketers don't do well is market themselves, right? We're so busy focused on marketing everyone else that we leave ourselves for last. Well, what you're doing is now putting that in the forefront, which is definitely making you stand out from the rest. Can you tell us a story about, and give us an example of how, a marketing project or campaign you developed really made an impact on a client and also possibly changed the industry a little?
The one that I'm most proud of is a very basic example of how to use Facebook marketing from a geographic and from a demographic point of view. My sister-in-law owns the nursery school. I'll give her a plug, the Alphabet Kids Nursery School in Babylon. 3 years ago, she was not on Facebook, did not have a Facebook page, and I was at her house, and she was about to go put flyers up on all different stores throughout Babylon and West Islip and what have you. And I said, you know what? Can I get you for an hour? We'll sit down at your kitchen table. We'll take out your laptop and we'll set you up on Facebook. She goes, well, okay. So we sat down and we figured it out. I asked her for all the zip codes where she got all her students from, and she, the zip codes, Babylon, West Islip, what have you. And I said, okay, the demographics now are the fathers involved? And she goes, no, the father doesn't get involved.
They don't make the decision.
I told her that was sexist, but whatever. So I said, all right, so is it, how young are the mothers? And she goes, well, we get some grandmothers involved too. So I say, okay, so we'll say the demographics are women 30 plus, and then the geographic were the 7 or 8 different zip codes around Babylon. So right there we had the dynamics of of a marketing program to do. So then we went on Facebook. I created a boosted post, which is a small ad on Facebook. Came up with a very small budget for like 2 weeks to help promote. I guess nursery schools have what they call open houses. It's like where they invite parents in from new prospective kids. And the short version of the long story is we did the 2-week boosted post on Facebook with those criteria. And for the first time, she's had the school now 20 years, and she had to actually add a 3-year-old class as a direct result of the Facebook ads. But What's happening now is she has so much engagement from all her parents through Facebook and watching their kids and grandkids, at school, that my sister-in-law posted on a Facebook page. And to me, that's just a great example of how to use social media and Facebook marketing.
No, that's fantastic. So what are some of the toughest challenges you face with the evolving and evolution of content daily?
One of the biggest challenges I have with clients is that in the old days of marketing, you used to run a direct mail campaign. You'd send out however many 10, 20,000 pieces, and you knew that a week later you would get something like a 0.2% response, and you knew how many phones were going to ring. Or if you did a radio flight, if you ran, for 2 weeks, you ran 4 spots a day, and you knew what the budget was, you knew how many times the phone was going to ring. But content marketing is a little bit different in that it's a longer lead time. And, people ask me, well, when are you going to get me on the first page of Google? And I just said, well, and he only wanted to do SEO. And I said, with SEO, it's going to take, 6 months. And that's constant, updating and tweaking it. And a lot of people give me a lot of pushback to say, well, I don't want to have to pay you for 6 months. And
they don't get it. They want instant satisfaction.
Yeah, that's
gratification.
That's exactly where we are in America now, instant gratification, like you said. But if companies and the company owners that are in for the long term and they understand that what they're building, then they're very comfortable with content marketing, and they know that that's going to work that way.
Absolutely. And what's old is new, and what's new. So you have to really take, traditional marketing,
right?
That we learn and
exactly.
Incorporate it into technology.
Exactly.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Stephen Wilson, CEO of Strategic Marketing Works. My name is Donyshia Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwetz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Donyshia Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwetz, and our guest today is Stephen Wilson, CEO of Strategic Marketing Works.
Now, I'd love to hear another story, maybe a company that you worked with that it was a real... I don't know if it was a real challenge, but that was kind of a challenge to market, and what story you got out of them, and how you helped them turn around.
One example I could think of is a company called A+ Solutions, a security company in Bayshore. Mm-hmm. Before they hired me, and what led to their hiring me was that they checked on Google Analytics and found out their bounce rate was 75%. And for that, they raised a lot of red flags and bells and whistles, what have you, and they went through a process and they wound up hiring me. And so we really tried to analyze and did a deep dive as to how and why the bounce rate was as high as it was, and there were some other factors, but the one thing that we realized was that the content was not engaging, as we used that word earlier. So we shifted the content. What they were trying to do specifically on this program, they had a science STEM lab, which they sold into school districts, but the content was not explaining how to use the lab and the benefits of it and the like. So I created content over several months of showing examples of the science lab and how easy it was to use and the benefits and the cost efficiencies associated with using it. And 6 months after they brought me on, we went from 75, and they checked the bounce rate. It was down to like 16-18%.
So basically, you breathed life into their campaign.
Yeah, you know what it is? I feel like everybody has blinders on. Everybody sees what they see and what they want to see, and I think a person like me or you comes in with a marketing perspective and offers a fresh look. And as long as we're willing to do a deep dive into their business, that we offer a fresh look, and we said, hey, what about this? And sometimes there's some pushback, but in this particular case with A+ Solutions, they realized that it was worth a shot, and so we redid their whole content, did it on a much more regular basis, and engaged people, and they came along, and there was a follow-up in sales of the product as well.
Now, you've worked with organizations like AT&T, Fisher-Price Toys, Frito-Lay, and IBM. Mm-hmm. What would you say is like your fondest memory and the best campaign that you really enjoyed throughout your career?
Ooh. I think when I was at IMG, a sports marketing company, I was managing the Frito-Lay sponsorship of the NFL. Okay. And, they paid the NFL several $1 million to be the official snack food of the NFL. But then it was like, okay, what do we do with that? And so they were in Plano, Texas, outside of Dallas. So we were in this big conference room, and I was like, well, what's your objective? And he's, well, all the football people watch and eat chips. It's like he's buying season, selling season. I said, yeah. I said, but how do you sell it? I said, well, we got to get shelf space. That's for Frito-Lay, that was their number one objective. And I said, and I knew a little bit about end cap displays, which are sort of like the displays at the end of the aisle that are more focused and much more traffic. And I said, well, how about if we develop what I call a modular program, which listed 10 criteria: player appearances, sweepstakes, a thing called dealer loaders, which are gifts to the store managers to help set up a display. And so what we did, we set up a modular program that we took to each of the NFL cities and we hooked up with one particular supermarket chain. That's when I first found out, which is just a point here. There's no national food chains. Well, maybe Walmart now, but this was a few years before that. They're all regional in nature, which I never was aware of until then. So we hooked up with, I think, 24 or 25 different food chains, one in each market, and we did that, and it was deemed a really big success. They got what they call a big sell-through, which means the product sold off the shelves, and all the money that they spent with the NFL, they deemed that their ROI was sufficient.
And that's key, because when you're spending this major big bucks on marketing, you want to make sure your ROI is key. And that sounds like a really cool, fun campaign.
Yeah, but even with A+ Solutions, when we did that, and we changed the content around, and there was an uptick in the sale of their STEM labs. I mean, they were very happy, and that's what I liked. I like to help people, and that's what I really think I do as a marketing person, is that I help people.
Yeah, I see you lighting up right now just saying it.
That's what I like to do.
And that's what I mean. Like, we're the cheerleaders, right?
Yeah,
we bring the fun, we bring happiness, right?
Exactly.
You kind of bring out what's fantastic about what someone does.
Right.
And now, from your perspective, switching gears a little bit, as a business owner yourself, what are some of the activities that you think it's a good idea for business owners to engage in to be marketing themselves? Like what activities do you engage in to help do that?
I do networking.
I was going to say, you must be on the networking circuit if you know Ray.
On the networking circuit, and I help out several different charities. Just from a non-marketing point of view, just helping them raise funds, or just volunteering at the animal shelter up in Huntington, and then there's a child daycare center that I work with in Babylon Village as well too, and it just exposes me to a lot more. And I feel as a marketing person, you really need to have exposure to a lot of different things and see different perspectives. And so that's what I try to do.
Yeah, we don't know it all, but we have some pretty cool ideas, right?
Exactly. And sharing it with people. And I think spending time with like-minded individuals towards a common goal, I think that's pretty darn awesome.
Exactly.
For you, I mean, what would you say is what keeps you motivated? Because, I mean, that's a lot of activity. So you're working with all these clients, you're coming up with these ideas, you're engaging them, you're trying to engage their clients. How do you keep doing what you do?
I love waking up in the morning and knowing that I have a client meeting here, or today this email is going out to help this client, and that gets me up every morning.
Cool.
I love the prospect of coming up with ideas. A lot of people tend to shy away from creating ideas, but for me, I don't know, maybe it was all the beer I drank in high school or whatever, but I've always been able to come up with ideas.
The light bulb's always going off.
Yeah, right? It's just one of those things. It's like some people could sit down at a piano and play music, which I can't do, but to come up with an idea, that's always been something I've been fortunate enough to be able to do. Nice.
Now, we have a lot of entrepreneur listeners out there, and what would you say, is there a time where you said, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm going to close the doors, and what kept you motivated to keep going, Because we go through dark times sometimes.
I know I have one. It was about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, so it wasn't too long ago. And a friend of mine had referred me to a company, which was, it would have been the largest client that I would have had. And I went through some of the process. I met the one or two people in the company, and then nothing happened. And I called up like 2 weeks later, and they said, no, we're going to go work with somebody else. So then I called my friend up to find out if he could tell me anything. And he said, yeah, it was a big company, and they really liked your ideas, but they didn't want to work with somebody that works out of their house. And that was it, and that was a downer.
Yeah,
because I had given them really good ideas. I had done a lot of research, to find out about their market, what have you, and I really thought, I had the artists that I worked with had developed some kind of comps and what we were talking about, and the strategy, and I'd given them a totally different strategy than what they were doing, and they seemed to really like it. But when they found out I worked out of my house, they just put the kibosh on it.
I can totally relate. That actually happened to me a few years ago with a major advertising agency to subcontract, and it really just takes the life out of you.
Oh, yeah.
I met with Damon John. I attended a networking event with Damon John a few years ago.
That must have been exciting.
It was. It was at the local Marriott here in Long Island. And then I posted my experience, that same experience, on his LinkedIn page. And he posted back a note saying, I started my business in my home and basically took over his mother's house. And I realized that, you know what, so many people, the Steve Jobs of the world, there's so many garages, kitchen tables.
Jeff Bezos. I mean, say what you will about him, but he started his huge business.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, that's where we began.
Right.
You know, so I just say, I wish I would have known you a few months ago, because I would have loved to share that experience with you.
And I had assembled the team. I had an artist, who works on their own. I had a photographer. I had a video person. I had an SEO, and I had developed a team that was really willing, able, and capable of getting the job done.
Right.
And we just didn't get the opportunity.
They didn't get it. No, they didn't get it. But that's okay. You persevered, and here you are.
I let it keep me down for a day or two, and then I had another client that needed something out, and that
brush
was
your
it.
shoulders off and keep moving.
Exactly.
Now, tell us about where is the best spot for someone who is looking for you for your services. Where is the best spot for them to find you?
My website is smwmarketingny.com, or they could call my office number. It's area code 631-539-2084.
All right. And speaking right now to that person who's out there who's listening to us and thinking, I learned a lot, but what's the one thing that I really want to get out of this show? What's the one thing I really want to get out of a conversation with Steven Wilson? What is it? What is that one thing you'd want to leave that person?
I want to tell people that in today's, as we discussed earlier about what's changed with marketing, is that you don't try to sell consumers, B2B or B2C today. You try to educate them and engage them, and you get them on your side. And then that's the new norm in the sales marketing process today. If you try to sell people are getting turned off by ads, and people refer to things like Netflix and Sirius Radio where there are no ads anymore. And people rely much more now on reviews and testimonials and word of mouth. So what I try, obviously, content marketing, the whole idea is to provide valuable information. And I think if companies can do that, they're going to engage their engage their prospects and then convert them into customers.
And fans.
Yes.
Steven, this has been great. You've given us a lot of great information. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. Thank you.
I like to leave you with an inspirational quote, and I think just teaming and working together as joint ventures is so key. But it's also important as marketers to have fun. And in the words of Walt Disney, it's quite fun to do the impossible.
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. The creative director of Tower Talk Business Radio is Rudy Breedy. This is an NCC Foundation Business Leaders Council production. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Available on iHeartRadio, as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the National Community College Foundation on the voice of National Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk with you next week.